Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Horror Show. Show dissects, mutilates, dismembers, and butchers all of your favorite and not so favorite horror movies and other cult classics. I'm Sean.
I'm Joe.
Hello, Joe.
What's going on? Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. We're recording this on New Year's Day, so that's a fun little thing. You guys will be getting it after that, so it's a little delayed there. Yeah, we did our Christmas special. We haven't done an episode since then.
Yeah. Wow.
Crazy.
Good live show.
Great live show. It was off the charts. We had a lot of fun there.
We should do it in person more often.
I know. I think that'll be the move soon. It'll be real fun. So yeah, I had a lot of fun. Paul was there. Paul also forgot things we talked about on the live show recently and was in the chat being like, can you believe you guys talked about gaping in this episode? I was like, Paul, we had a conversation at the live show about it and told you that we had just recorded it. An episode talking about it. Like, holy cow. What are the odds of that?
Golly gee.
But thanks to Paul for coming out for that. It was fun. So we are kicking off Japanuary this new year. Ringing in the new year with Japanuary. We had some scheduling changes with this because I couldn't decide how we wanted to do it. And so initially my thought always was, let's do one episode for each movie. The Japanese one and the American one, just in one episode, talk about both. And then I don't know what happened. My brain was just like, no, we're going to do it one per episode. Thank God we did not do that because I don't know what my thought was on that, but I really don't know the thought process on that. I think it was to, I don't know.
I mean, especially today's, we would be repeating a lot of the same stuff.
I did, Joe. We couldn't even do it except for fucking horses. That's the only thing we could talk about extra. But it's the same fucking thing. It's the same movie, and it's just oh fuck like that. Thank God we didn't. So shout out to producer Lexi who texted me and was like, "Do not do it that way." I was like, "Well, it's fucking 4 p.m. the day we're recording, so I'll text Joe and see." And Joe was a good sport, so we got it done.
Pulled it off. We did it.
Yeah. More importantly than Japanuary, though. Well, I'll wait for that. This is actually important too, but then I'll get to the most important thing. Starburst magazine issue 488 is out right now. You can order it online in the United States. It's in newsstands in the United Kingdom. Joe and I did an interview out there with Luke Spafford for Starburst magazine. That issue is out now, so make sure you check it out. Check out what we said. Don't remember, we did it in like July. So
yeah, when you started talking, I was like, what the fuck? Yeah, it was a good time. Thanks.
So check that out if you're out there. Now, the most important thing. Have you seen this Santa Claus commercial with John Travolta?
I have, yes.
How are we feeling about that?
Like as him as Santa Claus or just the commercial in general?
The commercial in general. And you can give me your thoughts on him as Santa.
I mean, he looks nuts. I don't really have beef with the commercial. Yeah, I don't mind it.
I saw it the first time I saw it. I was like, lame. And then I was like, you know what? This kind of fucking rocks. I kind of like this.
That's not bad. But he looks psychotic, dude.
I mean, he's looked psychotic for a long time. Remember when he just started doing the weirdest things with his hair and facial hair? Yes. And it was like everyone knew he had been going bald. That was like the big secret at the time, was like Travolta had no hair. Worst kept secret ever because his hair looked insane. But then he also started dyeing his hair like jet black in films. And you were like, what the fuck is this guy doing? Like, just go with it, man.
When he went with the full bald, dude, I was just gonna say, when he went with the full bald look, it was like his head grew and he had that goatee. He looked fucking psychotic.
The fucking Barry Bonds head, the fucking head that grew 2 sizes too big.
Taking HGH, but it was only growing the skull.
Anyway,
remember when John Travolta it was like 2009, 2010. Like every time he would step out in public, paparazzi would catch him picking his nose. All he had to do was not do that.
I don't
outside the comforts of his home, and it's like every picture.
I
Sometimes he wear, dude, I distinctly remember one. He was wearing like leather gloves for some reason. His fucking finger was up his nostril.
Yo, gloves up the nose is crazy. That's so fucking nuts. That's fucking crazy. Because that means you've been, you've like widened those nostrils a little bit to fit an extra
gaping the nostril.
I was gonna say it, but I really want us to come out with gaping within 5 minutes of the episode.
You already mentioned it.
That's true. So here we are. Oh boy. Yeah, Travolta. I just
legendary nose picker.
All right. Okay, sorry, we're back. We had technical difficulties because I'm not up with the kids lingo, and I thought I was missing something. Producer Lexi has given us the photo of Travolta picking his nose with a glove. That's actually crazy. That's fucking crazy.
Yeah. No, it's like, it's not just like resting. No. Like he's legitimately picking his nose. You can't argue it. He has leather gloves on.
With slick back hair. That's fucking amazing. So anyway, back to Japanuary. Here we are in Japanuary.
Shout out Sarah Zarozniak. She's the brainchild of this theme.
Which, speaking of, did you see the message from Nick S that Letterboxd is running a Japanuary contest?
Get the fuck out of here.
I swear to God. Let me pull it up. I'll show it to everyone.
While you're pulling it up, I think I said it. I just have not been using Instagram. Like, I haven't been checking my messages. I kind of like it. It's like peace of mind. So sorry if you've sent me something.
Oh yeah, no, it's the best. It's the best to not do it. I muted everyone on it, and it was fantastic. It's nice. And then
follow us on Instagram when we plug it at the end.
Yeah, I checked the. We got producer Lexi who forwards us the real bangers and tells us what to do. But anyway, yeah, no, we'll engage with you. I take all that back. I take everything I said back. Fuck. God damn it. Hey, Japanuary. Anyway, Letterboxd stole it. I can't find it now, of course, but they have an Instagram post where they were like, Japanuary. And Nick S was like, hey, they copied you. I was like, hey, what else is fucking new? Everyone likes to steal our shit. So, what can you do? So we got The Ring. Original was, well, funny enough, the original was 1995.
I thought it was 98.
Well, my friend, there was one that was made in 1995, and then 1998, the actual release. The first one was only a TV movie.
Okay.
It's so much nudity in it. It's fucking crazy. Yeah. Hey, I think the 95 one might be better. I don't know. Because they're based on a book, right? So there was a movie in 1995 on TV. It's only ever been released in Japan. And the last time it got a release was 1996. So that got buried. 1998 is The Ring in Japan. And then the American one is 2002.
Yes.
The Ring was a fucking event.
It was big.
I mean, is there a more parodied horror movie at the time? Like, everybody had the
it was Blair Witch. It was Blair Witch for like 3 years, and then this came, and then that just,
you're right.
It passed the torch.
That's exactly right. That's actually funny. That's a good observation. Yeah, it just had a stranglehold on it. Did you see it when it came out? We were in high school.
Saw it in theaters. Yep.
Saw it in theaters. I don't know if I saw it in theaters. I don't think I did. I when did you see the Japanese one?
After I was in college.
You were in college. Okay.
Yep.
So I like my history with this is weird because I would have sworn I seen the Japanese one, and then watching it today, I had zero memory of anything that was happening. And it was real weird.
All of my memory is the Gore Verbinski version, unfortunately.
Right? Yeah. So that was my core memories. And then I was also like really against these Japanese remakes at the time. And I don't really understand why. I know my stance, like this is like high school, Sean, probably college Sean too. I know my stance was like there were just jump scares. Like I was like, jump scares, that's so stupid. First of all, I get scared of jump scares so easily. So
dude, I never got the hate for him. I know like people were like, it's such a cop out. Listen, it works for me.
I don't think it is a cop out. The more as I've gotten older, I don't actually think it's a cop out. Like I mean, unless you're doing it every fucking 10 seconds, but what like it's just a fun thing to do. I don't know. Like
yeah, the ones in this movie I think work. It's fine.
Yeah. And I don't think there is many. But for some reason at the time, I was like, fucking jump scares. You guys don't know horror movie. Okay. So, anyway, with that said, we watched the Japanese one. We watched the American one second. What are your thoughts on these? Do you have any initial thoughts on between the two of them before we kind of like dig into them? Or any like memories of it, or like how do you like them at the time versus now?
I loved the American version when I saw it, and then I thought when I saw the Japanese version that it was great, and I'm sure I like vocally was like the Japanese version's way better, just to be a snob, you know. But now they're both just the same. Like I don't know. I guess it would depend on my mood. Like the Japanese version's a little more gloomier, a little more bleak. The American version's a little more polished. The American version gets a point deduction for its runtime. I'll tell you that.
Oh, 100%. My note here was I wrote down because I wrote them. I was just going through my notes in order, and I said I was writing my notes for the American one. I said America says let's do it. It'll be 20 minutes longer, $47 million more expensive, and let's throw a fucking green color filter on the camera and we can cram an entire plot line of horses killing themselves.
Dude, I mean, that's it. It's completely unnecessary.
Dude, the horse plot line is fucking crazy. So I don't think I ever had an issue with the American one. Watching the Japanese one today, it was just simple. It was just a simpler story that actually, to me, made a little okay. You could argue that it makes less sense because the American one like tries to explain things more, but the Japanese one was just like, "Hey, this is what it is."
It worked. And then I had the same thought with the horses. Like that could have just been a conversation. Like, hey, all these horses killed themselves just because of this girl.
Okay. Why do you even need that? The girl in the Japanese one, when you have two movies with the same fucking characters with slightly different names, it's Sadako.
Oh, you talking okay, Samara and Sadako.
Yeah, Samara Sadako. So Sadako in the Japanese one is just they're like, the guy's just like, yeah, she made the tape because she can just make whatever. She's just a thing. She could just make whatever she wants. And I was like, I'm fine with that. Say less. She just made a tape appear. Fine. I don't give a fuck. Like, that's great. And then in the American one, though, they tried to have her, when she was living, Samara's, like, she was making it on celluloid.
Right.
What they make, like, cartoons on. As a kid, she was not drawing on them. And the doctor's like, how'd you make these? She's like, I just think of them when they appear. Okay, this is pissing me off now. I'm just like she had these powers as a kid to make, like, okay, like, just don't talk about it. We just wipe it. Why do we need to know that? Just to at the end be like, yeah, that's how she made the tape. Okay, I think we.
So yeah, I agree with you. Some things are like, it's a horror movie. Imagine explaining every supernatural element in every horror movie. It's completely
Right.
unnecessary.
That's what I'm saying. And we've said it before. It's like the less you explain, sometimes the better.
Right.
Just leave it. Just leave it. She made a VHS tape. Who cares? I don't want to know. I don't need to know how she made it or what. Like, just it's fucking fine. It's fine. And this one's got a whole VHS subplot to it. So anyway.
I do want to be clear. I think the American version is very good. Like I think it's very enjoyable and well made.
I don't think I like it that much anymore.
Okay.
I don't. I will make my case with Aiden. Aiden's the fucking pits. There are things I like in it, I guess, but I mean, they made it was nicer to look at. Well, sort of. It was so green that like
it was very green.
And the cinematographer put a green filter on it on purpose. They were like, yeah, why color grade it afterwards when we could just throw this lens on it? And it's like, hey, maybe because I hate looking at this so much. So anyway, Japanuary this month, we are covering The Ring, The Grudge, and Pulse. So that'll be our next 3 movies. And then we're doing a live show on the, let me pull up the calendar wherever it is. We have a live show on January 24th. It's a Friday, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And we will be doing, it's under debate, but I'm leaning towards Eddie Green, listener of the show's suggestion of Bloody Muscle Bodybuilder in Hell. Which
with that title, you can't argue it.
You can't. You just have to show up and watch it with us. It's going to be great.
Yeah.
So I think that's going to be the one we do if I can find it. That's the other problem. So good luck to us. All right, Rotten Tomatoes time. Time to do it. Producer Lexi, get ready with those numbers. I think I lost last week, so I'll go first.
Okay.
Oh shit. So the Japanese one, I'll go. I don't know. I feel like it's going to be a weird number. I'm going to go 80% critic. I'll go 80 and 80. 80% critic, 80 audience. And then the American one, I'll go people love that movie. I'll go 80%. I'll go 75% critic, 80% audience.
Stole mine. All right. All right. Japanese version, I'm gonna go higher.
You can go
higher. You said 80. I'll go 88% critic.
Ooh.
I'm gonna go 70. You said you said 80. I'll go 75% audience.
88 critic.
75. Yeah.
Okay.
And then for American, I'm gonna go. I wanted to go 75. I'm gonna go 70 critic, 80 audience.
Okay. All right. 98
we got
critic, 81 audience. Wow. Wow. So we split that one because you had the higher, and then the remake 71, 48.
48.
48 is insane. Wait. People loved that movie. What the fuck happened? What the fuck happened? That's insane. That's crazy.
Dude, time, like, I know it's stupid to talk about, but like, I listened to an ungodly amount of music, and like I remember logging and reviewing albums in college, and like certain albums were just like totally revered in discographies, and like I go back today and like those same albums are like, this is the worst one they've ever recorded. Like, wait, what? When the fuck did that happen? I spent my entire adult life thinking everybody loved this.
That's crazy.
Like,
that's nuts. That is actually true. You have to factor that in with because the audience just keeps going and going. So I think you won audience and critic on the remake. You went low on both, right?
I did.
Yeah. So Joe takes that. What was your remake critic one? Do you remember? Did you say 70?
I think it said 75.
And I went 80. Oh, yeah. You said 70.
No, you said 75. Yeah. I said 70.
Yeah. Okay. Wow. Joe fucking kills me on that one. Damn. All right. Well, another losing week for me. Started out hot. Not so much anymore.
Hey, can I just say I watched Invasion USA this past weekend.
Okay.
There's nothing
Yeah.
to do with this. I just wanted to
Yes.
say, have you seen it recently?
I've not seen it recently.
We got to do it on the show sometime.
Buzz made me watch that so many times. I
Listen,
think I might
A rare W. A rare W. He's right.
I mean, I'll give him the W even for pulling, which is funny because I wanted to bring this up when we were talking about Travolta. I'll give him the W for just the 80 action movies that he would pull out of his ass because he would just watch them all. Dude, no one was a bigger TV watcher than him. Like he would just watch TV all the time, but the movies, not TV shows, nothing, and nothing of date. Like it was all these weird fucking things. Or he'd see a cover and make you rent it, and he'd be like, "Man, can't we just like watch something, fucking good?"
The biggest fan of Malone.
Burt
Reynolds. I don't even know if he's seen the movie. I just know.
Yeah, we watched it finally.
Okay.
Finally. It took us like, I mean, not finally, recently, but like when we saw the Malone cover, it became a running bit for like 2 years, and then we finally rented it. And I remember there was a conversation of like, should we even watch this? Because there's no way, like, it might ruin everything about this whole Malone thing for us. It didn't. Malone was still nuts, fucking crazy. Burt Reynolds.
Did we do Malone on the show?
No, I don't think so.
Okay. I'm having weird deja vu. Maybe we just talked about it during auction.
We probably did talk about it. Burt Reynolds in the full denim outfit. I mean, the cover is fucking crazy.
It's just him, but
giant
Buzz
flame.
just like the name Malone. Most of
them. Yeah. Oh yeah. Like, that's all it was.
Just like screaming Malone at people.
Dude. He just loved a good silly word, which is funny because he was basically the SNL version of Burt Reynolds, who like names himself Turd Ferguson because he's like, it's a funny name.
You're correct.
Yeah. Funny name. And you're like, wait, what? Just loves a silly word.
It's so stupid. You would see like a cop like just out on the street, like it's Malone, just screaming it in their face.
I was gonna bring him up with Travolta too because no one's a bigger fan of the Punisher, and Travolta's
his favorite comic book movie ever.
Yeah, the one with Kevin Nash. Who played Punisher in that? What?
Dolph Lundgren?
No, not the one with Travolta.
Sorry.
The Thomas Jane. Thomas Jane. Yeah. Love that guy in the diner scene with the guitar. Thought that was the best thing ever. Anyway, so wouldn't watch the Marvel show on Netflix when me and Joe were like, you have to watch this. It's literally the greatest pork show. And he's like, I don't know about that. It's perfect. Anyway, so here we go. Well, actually, we could take our first break and we'll come right back to do the ring, which we still haven't talked about. All right, we are back. All right, so the ring, we'll start off. Let's talk about the timeline a little bit here. So in the 80s, Japanese movies go into this like extreme gory form. They start doing this with, the guinea pig movies, Evil Dead Trap, Tetsuo. Then in the mid 90s, they start going to this newer thing where it's a little heavier, including the ring here. It's not like psychological, it's spiritual, but has this like human groundedness. It's really personal, right? It's about people and their relationships and things like that. So
yes,
it's very odd. And in the 90s, the Japanese horror movies were not great. They are not very good. And then The Ring comes out in 98 and blows everyone out of the water. They release a sequel the same year called Spiral that everyone was like, this is the worst thing we've ever seen. So then in 99, they're like, actually, no, this is The Ring 2. They made a sequel that was a little bit better. You have 99 Audition comes out, which is still sticking to that more gory stuff. Ring Zero Birthday comes out in 2000, and that's a depressing movie about Sadako's backstory, which does not sound fun. especially because we know it. You have that Ju-on comes out in, which is the Grudge, comes out in 2000. Battle Royale is 2000. 2001, you have Pulse, which is what we're doing. The third movie we're doing this month. 2002, you have Dark Water. Both of those kind of heavy in content material. Sort of again, not exactly the most fun to watch. In 2002, after all those movies are released, the America finally comes along and is like, hey, let's remake this movie. We're going to do The Ring. That goes bananas. The Ring remake is, I think, still one of the highest grossing remakes ever made. Ju-on, Ju-on The Grudge in Japan comes out in 2003, and then America goes absolutely nuts. And, well, 2003 is also One Missed Call with Takeshi Miike. How do you say that? Takashi Miike. I don't know.
I think you said it right. Yeah.
2004, then America does The Grudge. 2005, they do Dark Water. 2005, they do The Ring 2. And then 2008, they do One Missed Call. So they went a little bit, they went crazy for the Japanese horror movies. Curious to see how those other ones play out. Because I feel like they're not going to add up. Maybe The Grudge. Maybe The Grudge holds up. I don't even remember it at all. I doubt that the other two are doing it because those sound like cash grabs.
Agreed. I don't remember loving The Grudge, to be honest with you.
See, I don't. Is that Michelle Gellar?
Yes.
Sarah Michelle Gellar? Yeah. I don't know. I don't think that one's a good one. And I think that one might have been the one that like set the tone for the jump scare thing. Because I feel like that was the one where the little boy is just constantly somewhere where he shouldn't be. And you're like, holy shit. Like, it was just like every scene, he was just like in the closet peeking out. Uncle Rumple style, just his head peeking through the coats.
I got to rewatch Uncle Rumple. But
I think we should do it for the show. You said that a few weeks ago. And I think that might be a front runner for a rewatch. Maybe those are our bonus episodes.
I like that. For something year. from the first year.
Yeah,
we should say this is officially year 10.
Oh yeah, year 10. That's right. We talked about it on the live show. We did 2 live shows. Still talked about the movie. We did two live shows. We did a European one at 3 p.m. Eastern time. And if you didn't get to watch it, I would say go back and watch it because it was a lot of fun because we watched and All Through the House, which was the first thing we ever covered, the Tales from the Crypt episode. And we re-listened to our first episode. And we got
good.
We were fucking great.
We were way better, like way more organized and professional than we have been for the last 5 years.
It was so fucking good. It was crazy. And I remember it started off with me being like, because we had done the Guys Like Us thing and that show and stuff, and I was like, well, yeah, like now we're experts because we did 9 episodes of a terrible podcast, so now we're pros, so this will be great. And I paused it and I was like, this is gonna be so fucking bad. And then it turned out I might have been right. Like, shook out the ring rust in 9 episodes, and yeah, we were really good. It was shocking. So I feel a lot better now when people are like, hey, I went back and listened to all your episodes.
Me too, because before I'd just cringe. Like, well, why?
Every single person that told me that, I would be like, I don't want to talk about it. Like, they're bad. They're so bad. But no, they were good. So that was fun. I'd suggest go watching that. But anyway, so America, it appears, took like their heaviest and saddest movies and just kind of made them a little more
silly goosey.
A little silly goosey. They were like, hey, this is a really sad story about family and tragedy. And they were like, you know what? Let's throw a horse in it. Let's throw some horses in it. Let's make this about a horse breeder whose horses jump in the water. Also, is this our first foreign language movie?
No, we did Battle Royale last year.
Battle Royale was our first one then. Okay, so it's interesting. It's definitely a different vibe when you have to read the screen and take notes. But that's why this format will be better with the 2
Dude, I almost went full Paul this afternoon because the subtitles stopped playing halfway through, and I was like, I gotta, because it was right after you you messaged me saying we have to do 2. I'm like, I don't know what to do. Like I can't get these back up. I might just have to power through and watch the rest of this, not knowing what they're talking about.
That would be fucking amazing. That would have been awesome. Halfway through, you're just like, yeah, I don't know. Something happened there. Looks like a funny scene. Like, hey, it's the saddest scene of the movie. So Japanese, The Ring in Japan is released January 31st, 1998. I didn't, because this I know this episode's going to go long, so I didn't go into the actors too much, but Hiroki Sanada is in this. I did not realize he is a like Shakespearean trained actor. He's in Shogun. He's done everything. And when you see his face, you're like, I knew he looked familiar, but then when I looked him up, I was like, oh my god, this is that fucking guy. Dude, he's in Last Samurai, Rush Hour 3. I think he's in John Wick. He's just done everything. He's in Bullet Train. That movie fucking ruled.
Bullet Train was great.
Yeah. Bullet Train was awesome. I feel like more people need to talk about that movie, but no one talks about movies anymore anyway. They just forget about them because of streaming. It's just on to the next one. The movie comes out and then Tiger King comes out and that's all anyone talks about for a month and you're just done with it. So he's in it and he's great. I actually like all the actors in this movie. I think they all did really well. There's not many, but they're great. You open with these girls talking about this video curse, ending with the freeze frame after the TV turns on, and that's it. You just see her screaming.
This one had a lot more off-screen, like left to your imagination.
It did. Interestingly, the TV movie in 95, you don't see Sadako, I think that's her name, I forget. You don't see her almost ever. She's invisible to the people, so she's invisible to you. You only really see her in flashbacks and stuff. I think it's effective, though. And it's funny because I remember when The Ring came out, it was PG-13. And, PG-13 horror, everyone's just kind of like, whatever. The Ring in Japan, I don't know how the rating system works, but it had to be like PG-13, right? Like, it's way less gruesome than the American one. Most things are off screen. You don't really see anything, but it's effective.
It is effective.
It works really well.
It has you like on edge the entire time you're watching it.
Yeah.
It's like kind of like sick for these characters.
Yeah. And I think, well, the pacing of the Japanese one to me was better than the American one, probably because it's an hour and a half. But I always love a movie where they do like basically a countdown. So you have like 7 days. And so on the screen, it'll be like day 6, day 1, day 2, day 3. So I love when movies do that because it adds a little bit to it. And the Japanese one, it moved quickly. But the American one, I wrote down the timestamp. I think they had an hour left and they were on day 6. And I was like, that seems like poor planning. That's fucking insane. The Japanese one was a little bit better paced, but I think having that timeline kind of adds to it where you're like, oh shit, like the stakes are getting higher and higher. And again, I think that's a little bit where America missed the mark because on day 6, you have an hour left and you're like, okay, well, I guess we got plenty of time to figure this out. So I did really like that part of it. It kept you on edge. And the other interesting thing on the Japanese one is everyone is aware of this. Everyone is, the news, the woman, the journalist is covering this because it's
being talked about.
It's being talked about as a video. Like they're like, there's this thing going around. There's a video going around, and people are dying. Supposedly.
Yeah, she's legitimately an investigative journalist.
Yeah, and everyone thinks it's an urban legend, but at least they're actually acknowledging that this thing is what people are claiming is killing.
Something weird's happening. Yeah, exactly.
The American one, she's investigating it because the mom was like, kids don't have heart attacks, and can you look into that for me? So that it's totally different. There's no coverage of it. There's no one's talking about the tapes even, really. She has an interview with kids, but that's it. So she's interviewing kids about it. They explain the whole curse. But no one really has any true experience with it. It's all these like fifth hand stories. It's like a friend of a friend of a friend told them about this video and things like that. It seems to all stem from this area, the Izu Peninsula. And we know this because the reporter starts diving deep in to find any articles about the two kids that died. The Japanese one was so interesting from a technology standpoint because to review the newspapers, she had to pull them off of like a rack that like held them, and was like had to pull up old newspapers that way to read them. So it was interesting. She goes to this funeral because we learned that the girl that died in the beginning was her cousin or her son's cousin, something along those lines. And so we know that our lead here, Raiko, is her name, is the main character.
She was down,
yeah, and she has a son, and so their cousin died. The son was really close with her, and is kind of upset, kind of not, kind of just like I don't know, and just concerned about death. It's like a real bummer when the kid is like, hey, do kids die? And the mom has to be like, oh, fuck. Yeah, they do. Like, it's hard to tell you. At the funeral, we find out that there was an autopsy, but they couldn't find anything. Raiku's son is wandering around, kind of giving vibes of he's being like called to things. Like he's standing in front of the TV. Looks like he's about to do something with it, but he doesn't do it. And it's all, I like this one because it's all very weirdly connected because she's investigating this video story about these two kids that died in a car. And then her cousin dies, but she's not putting it together that it's even the same thing. So it's kind of a cool concept of she's in it and she doesn't even know it. She's being affected by this and she doesn't know it yet. So, and all the rumors going around school are that the other girl went crazy. She can't go near a TV. She investigates the kids more. The kids were locked in a car, and the photos of the girl's body, we get to see those, and those are wild, like the distorted face of just terror, frozen in terror.
I do think the American did that one better. That scene is iconic. I can't take away from it.
Yeah, I mean the American faces are fucking crazy. But again, the Japanese one is working on a $1 million budget, which is nuts. That's a feat to do this with $1 million. So yeah, so the journalist ends up going into her cousin's room. She finds a slip for photo development, which is probably confusing to people watching this in 2025 now, because it's like this photo slip, and at the time you were like, oh, photos, and now they're probably like, what the fuck? What do you do with that thing? A piece of paper? What store is that? She goes, gets the photos. All the faces are like smudged, distorted, but they're standing in front of this cabin. So she goes to check it out in the cabin. There, she goes to the front desk. Dude, do you remember this? This sparks such a memory. She goes to the front desk, and they have a wall of videos that you could just borrow to watch while you stayed there. Do you remember that at hotels or no?
I don't.
It was, I feel like it was over by or maybe it was just because I stayed in a lot of hotels as a kid because we would drive to Texas every summer, and
I never traveled, so that
yeah. So I don't know, maybe it was like more rural southern thing because we stayed in some weird fucking places, but some of these places there wasn't cable. They just had a VCR, and you would go to the front desk and get a video from them and like pick from their shitty library of videos. It was terrible. Spark that memory. But anyway, she goes down there. She sees an unlabeled video. Something tells her to pick it. She gets it, puts it on, watches this insane, trippy movie, and sees Sada on the screen, as well as this pipe well thing. And then the video cuts out. Raiku's kind of in a state of like confusion, and she sees a reflection of a woman behind her in the TV screen, and then the phone rings. We don't hear anything. I don't think they even say anything. I think it's just a phone call with nothing on it, is my understanding. And then she hangs up. But this is all lining up with the story that the kids were telling.
Right.
Which was, you watch the video, you get a phone call, and then in 7 days you die. So she's freaked out now. And rightfully so, because that's fucking terrifying. We now start getting the dates on the screen, which I loved. So Tuesday we meet Ryuji, her ex-husband, who is also a psychic. And
Yes.
despite being a psychic, is also like, you're a fucking idiot. Like, this isn't real. Like, don't worry about it. He watches the video also.
That's such a funny point. Like, wow, shitty psychic.
You know, a guy with legitimate ESP, and it's like, you what are you, fucking moron? Ghosts? Are you stupid? But yeah, it's a little silly. He watches the video to test it to see if the phone will ring, and it doesn't. Wednesday, Ryuji is sitting in the park. He sees ghost feet show up, and I start speaking telepathically to the ghost, and he says, like, was it you that did this? And I wasn't sure what was happening there. Is that like one of just his ghost pals, like his ESP ghost pals? There should have been I feel like that could have been a cool concept. I mean, it would have been the Frighteners, basically, where Michael J.
Fox. Yeah.
That would be awesome.
Awesome.
Michael J. Fox has like ghost friends that help him talk to other ghosts and stuff. But no, it's just like this random kind of thing that happens. So I don't think that's ever talked about again. So unless I missed it. Anyway, they start reviewing the tape a little bit more, going in more detail, but they need to go to a real editing bay. So she makes a copy for them. And they are really able to go frame by frame, seeing the stuff on the screen. And my favorite part of this movie is he's deciphering the words that are being said in the video, and they say, "Frolickin' and brine, goblins be thine." And that's my favorite statement ever. Just put that on my fucking tombstone. Remember, what do you want on your tombstone? The pizza commercials?
I do, yeah. Good point.
What do you want on your tombstone? Dude, the 90s loved cowboys selling products. What was the salsa too, where it was like New York City?
Holy shit.
What was oh shit. It was paste. Maybe it was paste salsa. And the whole thing was like Tostitos salsa was made in New York City. So like they're like the guy would come up and be like, I got
dude,
salsa.
It's paste. It's paste.
Yes. They'd like look at the Tostitos salsa and be like, New York City. Old timey cowboy commercials were
dude.
bopping.
Yeah, and I don't know if it was like just the East Coast too, because I distinctly remember there being commercials specifically for Texas, like just the state of Texas, because they would always be like, everything's bigger in Texas. Yeah, and it would always have some like old woman looking at her husband in bed and be like, wish I was in Texas.
I think I have a poster in my office at work, a Texas poster. And I think it was from that period because it has something insane written on it. It's not everything's bigger, but I forget what it says. I'll have to take a picture of it. But I don't even know why I'm bringing it up. It's not even that good of a story. But when we moved to an office building, and when we were leaving it, the old office, the landlord had that Texas thing there, and I was like, well, I'm stealing this because I just want the Texas poster because why not? I love Texas.
Sure.
And so I was like, I'm taking it. So it was in my office, and they came in to do like the final walkthrough to make sure like everything was good. And she was like, "Huh, I used to have a poster just like that." And I was like, "Oh, well, that's weird, isn't it?"
Yeah, to that.
But anyway, so that's on my tombstone. Frolickin' Brian, Goblins Be Thine. He says it's from this weird dialect, which they determine is out of Oshima. So that's where they decide to go. But the night before they go, Raiko's son watches the tape. And he claims... Oh, sorry.
I love that element. Like, I love that element of it. Like, that's terrifying. You wake up and you see your son watching it, like, just out of pure innocence or curiosity. Like, that's a terrifying moment. It's great.
100%. I think rewatching it now, even now I'm like, that is so fucking good to add that, because you could have just gone with the parents, right? Both of them seeing it, and
yeah, they're trying to save their own lives, and that's scary enough. But now you have your son accidentally watching this, being like, well, fuck, like I have to solve it. Like, it just adds so much to it.
It does. And I actually think that is where the American one does a little bit better, even though it's brief, which I feel like both of them could have used a little bit more of, is like discussing the odds of this. Because in the American one, they highlight it more, where she's like, I'm gonna die and then you're next, and you have to figure this out because then it's our kid.
Right.
And the Japanese one, they don't really go into that thought process that much. I think they just assume as a human being you understand the stakes here.
Right.
So they're like, hey,
yeah. You don't really, as a viewer, like, well, fuck, you don't need to say much more.
Yeah.
I cannot wait. Actually, I'm just gonna ask you now. We won't talk about it, but which ending do you prefer?
Oh, that's a great question, because I think I read somebody's comments, like their like it was like an educated think piece on the end of the original, and I was like, oh, I kind of like that. But then I watched the American one, and I was like, ooh, I like this one a little bit more. I don't know. I like them both. The American one is so dark, though. The ending, I think it's darker.
Okay, we'll talk about it. We'll talk about it when we get there.
Because it's interesting. It's an interesting, which way would you go? So Raiku's son watches.
Sorry. I just have to say the Japanese one made me laugh out loud.
Well, I mean, yeah, surface level, it's so funny because she's like, "Hey, Dad," like, not even thinking.
Because I like. All right, we'll just talk about it now. So skipping ahead, she in both movies they decide to pass the tape on to somebody to pass the curse on.
Right.
And in the Japanese version, she's like, she calls her dad. It's like, hey, I got a videotape for you to watch. I was like, that's fucking nuts.
That's fucking crazy.
Just giving it to your dad. Like, but then, like, the more I thought about it, I guess I'm okay with it, because, like, I'm sure if I told my dad, like, hey, something's gonna happen to my kids, or it's gonna happen to you, like, he'd be like, give it to me. I'm old, right? Like right. It makes sense on paper, right, but it's still psychotic.
It's fucking nuts. It's fine because she's just, you don't know what's happening. You realize she figures out how the tape, you have to pass the tape on. She figures that out, and you see her like getting shit prepared, and you're like, oh, what's she gonna do to pass this along? Well, her son has to pass it along because she breaks the curse for herself. So right. She's like, my son has to do this. And you're like, oh, what's she gonna do? And then she's just on the phone with a big smile on her face.
Hey,
like,
Dad.
Hey, Dad.
We're coming over.
Me and the boy have something to show you. It's gonna be great.
I actually thought like I missed maybe like a subplot, like, oh, maybe he was abusive or like a piece of shit. But no, she's just giving it to him.
That there was no subplot, but I think they showed the grandfather in the Japanese one, and he was a much older guy. So you're like, I think that was when you're like, yeah, okay, like I get it. The American one did not show you the grandparents, nor does it factor in, because the American ending. You want to talk about the American ending?
Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah.
they're gonna pass it on to a stranger, and the kid's like, "Well, what's gonna happen to him?" She's like, "Don't worry about it. Let's not talk about that."
Because that kid is like, they make the kid in the American one really smart, which I feel like it could have, you didn't really need to do that to have him like that hyper aware of everything that's going on. But he's like, hey, this is gonna kill someone, right? And the mom's like, well, TBD.
Well, like, I like the Japanese one more too, because it would be so hard for a kid to just pass it to a random stranger and expect them to watch it, right?
Yes. Yeah.
If a little kid came, if I was like, if I walked outside right now and a little kid hands me a VHS tape, or back in the day when I had VHS players, like, I'll throw it in the garbage.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. It was an interesting thought, no matter what, having the kid be the one that passes it on, because in the Japanese one, you actually never see the interaction between her and the kid. So you're like, I guess she'll have the kid hit play on it, maybe, or hand him the stuff, I guess, or whatever. In the American one, we watch Naomi Watts taking his fingers to make the copy,
right,
of the tape, which I thought was fucking cool. And the thing with the Japanese one was interesting, because you could say she could kill the grandpa, or she could be like, Grandpa, you have to give this tape. She might just be buying another 7 days.
That's true. That's a good point.
She could be like, Grandpa, now you have to make a tape and give it to somebody else. And then there's the thought of like, how does this end? Like, well, the other thing to me was, if the grandpa dies, if you do let your father die, isn't that the end of the whole thing? Because you have the tape.
Yes.
Or would Sadako just make another one or whatever?
I would assume the tape stays with you.
Right. So like, then
what's the fucking point?
Yeah, you just put it in a box in your basement with a 4-leaf clover on it so it doesn't get out.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's a cool concept. And then the other concept that I'd read about the ending of the Japanese one, which I didn't really pick up on, or maybe it was the American one that they were talking about, but they were saying like how it's a disease, and basically if you got it out there in the world, it would become like everyone's immune eventually. Eventually there would be like immunity. It would pass along so much that eventually the world would be immune, which, hey, that would be 10 billion people. Like, what are we doing? What are we talking about?
Herd immunity with the ring tape.
Also, how did they not make an action movie sequel? Actually, I shouldn't say this because there probably is one that somebody will tell us about. But how was there not just a villain that's like, I'm going to play this on
Times Square
TV? Yeah. Make that fucking flip. Anyway, so that's the end. Thanks everyone for watching. No, so Raiku's son is now also cursed. They go to Oshima, where it all started. They figure out the woman on the tape is Shizuko, who was claimed to have ESP. You know, all right, so basically the story is, okay, you have this doctor, Dr. Akuma. He's having an affair with one of his patients, who is Shizuko, who has ESP. Shizuko has a daughter that also has ESP, and that is Sadako. Kuma starts parading Shizuko around. People hate it. They're like, this is bullshit. It's fake. Whatever. Sadako, her daughter, kills one of the press people, which was a cool moment in the thing. It's like it's a flashback scene that you see where she does it. It's pretty cool. So then the doctor's like, okay, I'm going to take Sadako and just get out of here, because she also has ESP. And he's like studying them also. And no one really knows what happened next. The doctor might be alive, might be dead. Sadako would be in her 40s. So with that, Raikou is like, okay, we're going to go find Sadako, which they can't do. There's no trace of these people anywhere. And that's a wrap. Oh, and we should mention Shizuko, her mom, killed herself because of the notoriety of all of this, because it was on the news, right? And it was pinned on her that she had killed this guy with whatever powers, and that she was a fraud and all this weird shit. So she kills herself out of that, like out of, which I think is great. I think that story is fucking awesome, actually. I think that's a great story. I think that trumps the American one.
I agree.
The American backstory significantly. So anyway, they have all this. They also realize the video is not of this earth. And again, as I mentioned, the American one has this whole subplot that the girl can make tapes. And in this one, the guy's just like, hey, you know what that means? She's like, what? She's like, that means that video is not of this earth. And it's her curse.
That's it.
And she's like, yeah, that sounds about right. And that's it. That's no questions asked. Everyone's like, yeah, that adds up. I'm down with that. And so was I. I was like, yeah, fine, I'm good. Say less. So they figure all this out. They had gone out there to visit with the uncle and stuff of Sadako, and you know, that's all a whole thing. And with one day left, they're like, you know what? We have to go back to the cabin. And I forget why. I think it's just because that's where, because she's like, hey, I got the call in the cabin. You didn't get a call. And we watched it somewhere else. So let's go back to the cabin. So they go back to the cabin. They go into this crawl space where they find the well. And then they use their ESP to touch the well, and they figure out the backstory that the doctor had bashed Sadako over the head with something and threw her into the well. The funniest part of that is it's a silent flashback, but they had this insane Foley sound when he hits her in the head. That's fucking nuts. Sound like smashing like a watermelon or a head of lettuce or something. It's the only sound in it for whatever reason. Whatever. They uncover the well, and the husband goes in, man, and they start draining the damn thing bucket by bucket. This girl has hours to live, and they're like, get the water out of the well, which is an interesting fucking move. It also slows down a bit here in the Japanese one, because we just watch them moving buckets of water, and you're just like, hey, you know what? The pace was really great for a while here, and now we're just watching these guys drain a well by hand. As she's moving the buckets, though, she grabs onto some hair. Out pops Sadako. But she doesn't seem to care. She's actually kind of happy to see this fucking ghoul. And she hugs the corpse. The hair falls off. The skin falls off. There's shit coming out of the skeleton's eyes. And
it's a great scene.
It's an awesome scene. And her husband, Raiju, pops in and is like, it's 7:10, which was the time that she was like, it was not after 7:10. I know that because that's when I got the call. So that's that. They cure it. They think
the curse is broken. Yeah.
Yeah. Sadako. Oh, my notes. Oh, yeah, there it is. Sorry. So everything seems great. Raiju's at home. Again, they're divorced, so they go their separate ways. He's sitting there. TV comes on, and the tape starts playing. And this time, Sadako climbs out of the well, and she's on the TV. Now, the American one and this one differ. Some of it is budgetary. Some of it is other things. I really like when Sadako is in the screen. It's a creepier screen moment where it's like she's slowly approaching the screen, but then she climbs out of the TV and comes out of the TV, stalks him. We see her eye. We hear the scream, freeze frame. They love that freeze frame. They love that black and white freeze frame. In this too. It's fucking wild. And then we learn that Raiku, his ex-wife, is on the other end of the line, and she hears the whole thing. So she runs over. The girlfriend confirms. She's like, his face. That's all she could say. So Raiku realizes the curse was only lifted from her, so it's still on her son. She sees a ghost pointing at her bag, which helps her understand that it's because she's sitting there and she's like, what did he do differently than I did? There's something different here, right? And then we see that she looks in the reflection, she sees a ghost pointing. So she goes and looks, and it's the copy of the tape that says copy on it, conveniently. And
Biggest
so,
letters.
which, by the way, the American version does the same thing. So
I love it. I love it.
it was so funny. When I saw it in the American, I was like, "Get the fuck out of here!" That's so fucking funny. Got to make sure we label these copy. We can't put anything else on them. Just write copy on them. So yeah, she's got the copy of the tape, and she puts it together that you have to make a copy of the tape to give it to someone else to survive. But she also replays the memory of talking to the kids, and one of the kids had said that. The kid was like, "You have to pass it along."
Yes.
So that's what clicks for her, where she's like, "Oh, okay." And then she gets in the car. We see her. She calls her dad and is like, "Hey, I have a favor I need you to do for my son." And again, implying that her dad is gonna die to do this. And that's how the movie ends.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, we already talked about it, but it literally threw me for a loop. That's how
it's a wild move. I kind of like it. I kind of like the audacity to be like, "Hey, I'm gonna kill my dad." Which again, you could have been like, "My dad sucks." You could have been like, "I know this person that sucks. I'm gonna pass the video along to them." I know some people I pass the video along to.
Oh, dude, I have a list.
I'd be like, "Hey, James, we're not making one copy, motherfucker." I got
stay up all night.
I need to buy some VHSs in bulk, baby. We got work to do. But yeah, that's the end of the Japanese one. Let's take our last break, and we'll be back to end this, do the American one briefly, and talk about which one we like more. All right, we're back. So American one, America loves it. They get Gore Verbinski,
director of Mouse Hunt.
They're like, "Hey, we know a guy."
What did he do? What did he do between Mouse Hunt and this?
I don't know if he did anything.
He did the Mexican.
Okay.
Brad Pitt, James Gandolfini.
Yeah, but I don't remember that movie at all. I know I've seen it, but did he, like, was that even a hit for people to be like, "Yeah, let's put him in charge of this"? So
It made so the Mexican was on a $40 million budget, and it made $147 million at the box office.
All right, well, that's good. So the Mexican, starring Julia Roberts, Brad Pitt, James Gandolfini, J.K. Simmons, Gene Hackman. I don't see a single Spanish name in there, so that's a good start to the Mexican. Do you remember The Last Samurai?
I do. Tom Cruise as a
which
The Last Samurai in Japan.
Yeah, that's fucking nuts.
He also did Valkyrie, which is like, a World War II story, and he's a German, and he speaks in an American accent.
It wasn't as audacious as the Matt Damon one. What was the Great Wall? Great Wall. That was wild. Oh man. So America's like, "Hey, let's try this Japanese flick out." October 18th, 2002, rather. It's released PG-13. Again, 20 minutes longer, putting it at about 2 hours, which is a little rough. Much higher budget with $47 million and a $249 million box office. One thing with the cinematography, I hated the green, but I liked this thing. They use this soft lighting setup. I don't know why they have so much information about the cinematography of this, but they did it to create as little shadow as possible.
Okay.
Which would alter the viewer's sense of perception and add a heightened sense of ambiguity. So sort of like throwing you off a little bit. So there was like no shadows. And I was like, that's kind of a fucking
I like that.
Cool little trick to do. Opening scene virtually identical, but they really lean into the water aspect of this.
Yes.
Wherever the death happens, there's water everywhere. Becky and Katie are the two girls. Same thing happens. Katie we watch Katie die. I started questioning it because I was like, wait, what? I was like, why does she die when she watches it? But then I was like, oh, right. The Sadako, well, in this one, Samara, is that her name? Samara?
Yeah.
And this one, Samara, she does come out of the TV to kill you. So it just happened to be a week to the day, to the moment that she happens to die. So what happens to her friend Becky, we don't know. So it's a little funky because I like the Japanese one because they actually at least highlight the girl that died. They mention that she's in a hospital and she's gone crazy and can't be in a room with TVs anymore, which I was like, but she would die within a week too. This one, they just ignore it. We got Aiden, who is the son, Rachel, who is played by Naomi Watts as the journalist. Aiden drawing weird pictures. He's upset by his cousin Katie. That's the same. And he also says that Katie talks to him and said that she was going to die. He also calls his mom by her first name.
Yes.
You ever meet a kid that does that?
I have.
It's fucking wild.
It's weird. Yeah. I don't like it at all. Yeah.
No, it's a little upsetting. Producer Lexi says she does that, but
okay. Well,
you're an adult. Did you do that as a kid? And also, yeah, to Joe's point, yeah, of course you did. That makes perfect sense. Teenager, yeah, that's fine. Teenager, it's like a spiteful thing. It feels like. I'm talking about like little kids. When you're little, it's like Bart Simpson, how he calls him Homer. It's fucking weird. It's fucking weird. I have not a blood relative, a relative though, and she's 6 or 7, and she calls her mom by her first name. I'm like, that's fucking crazy. That's a fucking. You run the fucking show.
Yeah, it's nuts.
But yeah, Katie's mom asks Rachel to investigate because she's like, I've never seen a single girl whose heart just stops. And she also saw her daughter's face, and we see it, and it's way gorier than the Japanese version. It's pretty wild. Mouth is ripped open. Adam Brody shows up for a minute, which is
he does.
Funny. It's just a quick too. I saw him and I was like, oh, I didn't know he was in this, and then I realized he's not. This is his scene.
Yeah, he's like a quasi Bengal expert.
A little bit. He's our guy. It's essentially the interviews with the kids in the Japanese one where they're telling the tale about the tape. Theirs is cool though because they're like, this is the story. I heard it from these friends or whatever. And this one, Adam Brody's just like, there's a VHS. It kills you. You're like, oh, okay, cool. No one would take that information seriously. Also, Naomi Watts is doing the worst like narc. Dude, she goes outside to talk to kids, so she like lights a cigarette and is like, who likes smoking weed? They're like, what? Shittiest journalist of all time. Hey, when I was a kid, I used to puff a little bit. And then she kind of alludes that that's what stopped that girl's heart.
Yes.
She's about to be like, so did Katie ever take a puff? And then it's interrupted by Adam Brody, who's like, what the fuck are you saying? What are you talking about?
When did the OC first air? Was OC on at this time? Was he like a big get for this?
That's actually kind of crazy because it had to have been on at that time. The OC
the next
was
year.
2000.
The next year.
Oh wow. Okay, that's crazy. Wow. I wonder if he had already filmed it. I'm always interested in stuff like that. Like where they were in terms of filming certain things when they line up like this, where you see them in a role where they're like, why were you doing this? Like, and then you're like,
no, he didn't have much work. He was in American Pie 2 as high school guy. And something called According to Spencer, and then The Ring, and then the OC.
Well, high school guy in American Pie. That's a very they're all high school.
They're all
American Pie. What a weird fucking movie.
American Pie 2 is college, right? So maybe that's why they had the distinguished high school guy.
Oh, right. It's the second one. Right. Yeah, that makes sense. just crazy that we lived in a time where kids were running around quoting about a guy who like fucks
About
a
fucking pies.
It's fucking crazy. It's so funny because like you know like the whole WAP thing where it was like, oh my god, a woman singing about a wet ass pussy and whatever, you know. You really look back at the shit that we watched and consumed and went around quoting, and you're like, hey, I don't know. I think I'd rather my son know about wet ass pussy the song than being like,
But
we fucked a pie.
It's a good point, man, because American Pie came out when I was a freshman in high
Yeah.
school, and I remember being like, I can't wait to be a senior, because that just sets your expectations of what high school's going to be like. It's
And
wild.
also, can we talk about like where wet ass pussy? I don't know why I'm using that as the example, but that really didn't cause anyone to like do anything. American Pie, the guy fucking a warm pie, then spread across high schools like wildfire of people being like, hey, if you warm up a fucking cantaloupe and fuck it, you're like, you'd hear people talking about this and you'd be like, what the fuck? And I feel like that's not happening anymore. Thank God. The amount of high schoolers that probably fucked shit in their kitchen after American Pie is out of control.
What a nightmare.
You're
Sticking your
coming
dick in an
home
apple
being
pie.
like, where did my fucking cantaloupe go? Thinking about it in that sense too, like now as an adult where it's like I buy things to eat, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
They're not just sitting there. Like if I bought a cantaloupe, it's to fucking have for breakfast or something. It's fucking gone, and then you find it in the trash with a fucking hole drilled in it. You're like, or a pie. Dude, your mom sits there and makes a pie, and now it's in the fucking trash, crumbled
working
up.
working all day to make it from scratch. Find out her son stuck his dick in it. That would honestly destroy a family.
Destroy a family. It's probably true. Like, dude, I mean, yeah, it's fucking crazy. Those movies used to give me such bad anxiety because he always got caught by Eugene Levy. How could you ever look your dad in the fucking eye?
Dude, yeah, dude, I would have to leave home, especially since he was 18 too. Like,
Right,
you know, he's a
right.
senior. Like you know better. Like,
You
even
just
if you
run
haven't
away.
gotten laid. You're like, you don't need to put it in a pie.
Oh fuck. Oh, American Pie. They made so many of those. Anyway, a lot of the same stuff here. You get the distorted face photos. She determines really quickly, though. She sees the photos of the face, and in the Japanese one, she's like, I don't even think she thinks anything of it. She's just like, that's weird. But in this one, Rachel's like, oh, fuck. Like, we're on to something. Which, if you ever had a film camera, you know, like, half of your photos come out like a fucking mess. And you're like, oh,
Right,
well,
right.
we have no more photos of grandma, so that sucks. Like... That's a bummer. So yeah, so she determines that. She goes to the cabin doing the same thing, watches the videos. Here's something to compare. The Japanese video versus the American video. Japanese one's way better.
I would agree.
It's grainy. It's fucking weird. It looks like something you should have watched. The American
Like
one is
it
shot.
looks like an acid trip. Yeah.
Yeah, the American one, it looks like it was the most well produced. The budget, the budget on the Americans, it's Samura's budget versus Sadako's budget was fucking crazy.
Agree.
She had great cameras, great lighting. It was fucking wonderful. Definitely a little cornier there. The other thing that I thought was interesting was the title, The Ring, right? In the American one, they use it very literally as the ring that you see. This ring. And it's in the video too, right? There's the circle and it's the logo. In the Japanese one, there is no circle. They never...
It's like the telephone ring. It's the telephone ring.
It's the telephone ring. Other people like talk about it like in terms of like Japanese culture, like it was also like the cycle, like a ring as a cycle, like the constant cycle of it, or like things like that, the cycle of the tape, the cycle of like the abuse and shit. And so it's multi-layered in Japan, and like you kind of can take it however you want in that. So it was very weird that which I never thought about until I watched the Japanese one today, where I was like, oh yeah, that's fucking weird that it's called The Ring. Because in America, you're just like, oh yeah. And by the way, I think the American one is cool when you realize what The Ring is. It's a cool idea.
I agree. Yeah.
It's a cool idea. I'll give them that. But anyway, she finally watches it. She sees this video. Rachel sees this video. The phone rings. She picks it up and has a voice at the other end that's like 7 days, which also didn't love. Kind of just you kind of don't need to do that. But her ex Noah shows up. Same things happen. She gives him a copy of the video. He doesn't believe it. There's no ESP in this. The kid,
Doesn't the son has it.
Well, yeah, Aiden can, but it's even that's a little weird because you don't know whether that's because I guess he's like talking to Katie and stuff. I don't know. Yeah. It's weird. So I guess the son has some sort of powers. In the Japanese one, it's passed down. It's almost hereditary because the dad has it and the son has it. So they kind of, again, they explain it without explaining it. They're just like, yeah, by the way, these guys have ESP. It's real. And also ESP is part of that story. Right. ESP is running wild in Japan. You can just throw a rock and you can hit somebody with ESP. So anyway, so Noah doesn't believe it. Noah immediately dissects the video from a very Paul moment here. It's like, oh, the videotape is this and this is poorly made. But ultimately lands on it being like, hey, usually videos have this fingerprint. You could tell what made it or whatever, and this thing, it has none of it. We get about 15 minutes of them analyzing this videotape on several different machines because they're trying to stretch out the image, which I don't know if that's a thing or not. That seems wild, but like it just records off to the side of the tape. I don't know, but anyway, she does it. She finally gets to it, and she sees a lighthouse, which she matches to news clippings about Anna Morgan, who bred horses and committed suicide because her horses drowned themselves, which is, again,
as we're talking about,
I'm coming off of the Japanese one, which was like, wow, this is like kind of crazy, like kind of dark, and then this one, it's like, yeah, her horses all killed themselves, so she killed herself. You're like, wait, what? This is the start of this curse, is these horses. Glad we extended the runtime for this. They also added these scenes of Naomi Watts pulling a fucking wire out of her mouth, which was fucking weird.
Yeah.
And they don't really get into that either. They're just like, yeah, well, it happens. It's funny because later she finds a box with other wires in it. And it's glossed over. She's not even like, oh,
that came from my mouth.
I have one of those in my mouth. Which probably would be the scariest part of this whole movie, realistically. You know? Pulling something like that out of your mouth is fucking crazy.
I would not be able to sleep. For real, if I pulled something out of my mouth like that,
it's fucking
what the fuck is happening?
Yeah, it's really fucking bizarre. So she pulls that out of her mouth. Aiden sees the video, similar to the first one. Naomi Watts' reaction, better than the Japanese one, in my opinion. The Japanese one is very subdued.
also agree with that. She goes hard. Yeah.
She goes hard. In the Japanese one, she's like, uh-oh. Whoops. And this one, Naomi has like a real moment that probably should have been a little bit longer, honestly, but it's cut off. It's cut short because she gets a call from whatever the husband's name is, Noah. But yeah, so we're on day 6. We have an hour left. We also get a more detailed storyline of Noah being a deadbeat dad, not being around, and he like has this big conversation with his son Aiden about it, and they just have a good laugh at it at the end. Aiden's like, hey, why aren't you around? And Noah's like, well, I guess I didn't really want to be around, and my dad wasn't around, so like, fuck it. And Aiden's like, sucks for me. And then they just both start laughing. Oh, all right, cool. It seems like something we could have cut, but whatever. We'll leave it. Yeah. Yeah. And so they take a ferry to this island to investigate Samara, who they don't know Samara totally yet. They're going to the lighthouse, basically. And then we get horses jumping off of a ship, which is insane. It's kind of fucking funny. It's not as funny as the horse jumping off the ship and then 40 people on the ferry running to the back to see its ultimate demise. Like, nothing good was going to happen. Going to look at this. The horse wasn't going to come out and be like, don't worry, I'll swim to land. You know what I mean? The horse is dead no matter what. But instead, all of them go look, including a child who then watches it get chopped up in the blades of the boat.
It's like nuts.
Like, I'm not running to the other end. Right? Are you? I'm like,
I'd probably just be like standing still in shock, but like, holy
Right.
shit. Like, that's fucking, what did I just see? Well, I agree with your point. Like that's why I'm laughing. Like, why would you want to go watch that? We get thrown a life vest? Like,
everyone rushes to the back to be like, let's go see this horse die. We got to make sure that horse is good and dead. Brian Cox shows up, who I can't see the same after watching Succession.
Do you remember horsehater.blogspot?
Joe, I think you and Paul showed me Horse Hater.
Dude, that guy fucking hated horses, man.
More than anyone. That's fucking nuts. That's got to be archived somewhere. We got to pull it up.
Dude, I can't. I looked like fairly recently, like within the last year. It's like scrubbed from the internet. And it wasn't like for those listening that don't know what I'm talking about, it wasn't like animal abuse. This guy would just post pictures of horses, but like, look at this fucking idiot.
Yeah,
just smelly piece of shit.
That was the height of the internet. Who was the guy that was also did the kids drawing? It was like
Maddox.
Yeah. That was the height of meanness on the internet, and it was great. It was great at that time because it was just like taking the dumbest thing and saying the most childish insults about it.
Ding ding! Here comes the shitmobile.
That was the fucking best. You had Strong Bad, you had Maddox.
Yeah, those are the days.
You didn't know when they updated, so you just checked it daily in the hopes
Correct.
that something new would come out.
Yeah, it was always like once a month too.
Yeah,
so disappointing every day. Just have to read the same thing.
We got to talk one day on a bonus episode about how Buzz bullied one of those early internet content creators to the point where he shut down his website. A very successful website too. Fucking nuts.
Dude, we say it all the time, but that kid was the original internet troll, and I don't know how he did it, dude. It's not to get off topic again, but when I got AOL Instant Messenger for the very first time, the day I didn't share, like I didn't know anybody's screen names. I downloaded it for like my brothers had them, and Buzz messaged me and trolled me saying he was our baseball coach, and I was like, how the fuck did you get my thing already? I believed it was our baseball coach for the rest of the day. He's giving me orders, like telling me things to do.
That's so nuts, dude. I can't tell you the amount of times I just sat in his room and he was just sitting at his computer in the summer all day, just harassing people.
That's all he did. This fucking he's the original.
Also, he was on eBay from a very young age. I need to ask him, like, because I think on eBay you can see when you joined, like a member since X date. Dude, it must have been like in its first year. It was in its infancy, and he was on eBay.
Dude, he was the king at eBay too, because he would know how people would misspell certain things, so nobody would make bids on him. Like he would just because he had that same mindset of being an idiot, you know. So he'd be like, I bet you they spelled it this way, and then he would find them and buy them.
It was crazy. I was actually going to bring that up. It's funny that you know that also. He knew exactly. He would find the rarest shit, and he'd be like, "Yeah, you just misspell it."
Yeah.
And you can find them. And I was like, dude, that's fucking nuts. We got to get off this topic. But I also remember there might have been a weird eBay scam. Not a scam. I think he fucked somebody over on eBay. And the guy got his home phone number and called and talked to his mom and was like, hey, your kid just fucked me on eBay. And I think ultimately his mom was like, hey, this is fucking weird. Like, shut the fuck up. So, why are you calling my house? But like, it's fucking wild. It's fucking wild. Anyway, so where do we go here? Naomi Watts. She pulls the wire out of her mouth.
We're talking about the
Deadbeat
horses.
Oh yeah, the horses. Oh, Brian Cox. Yeah, Secession. He's so good in that. Anyway,
Haven't
he's
seen
a
that.
he's a horse guy also. He's also the husband of Anne, the woman who killed herself. And he seems to know about this tape already. When she mentions the tape, he's like, I don't want anything to do with this. And when she brings up a daughter, he's like, there is no daughter. I have no daughter. So
Yes.
anyway, while this is going on, Aiden the kid is drawing these insane dark holes. And he talks to his mom and is saying things about Samara that we don't know. She lives in a dark place now. So you're like, ooh, what is this? So she goes to a doctor, the doctor on the island, who reveals Samara was adopted by the family. She caused visions in Anna, her mom, and also is like, hey, the fact that this girl's dead, not the worst thing that ever happened. Pretty fucking great, actually. And of course, Naomi Watts is like, oh, that's a fucking weird thing to say. So they also write in this storyline for Samara, who's in a psych ward.
Yep.
That's a big part of this. She goes to the psych ward, and that's where she's just like standing around. That's where she explains to them that she like makes the pictures appear somehow. We then watch Brian Cox perform the most obscene suicide scene of all time.
Probably of all time.
Yeah.
Electrocuting himself standing in water.
Guys wrapped in wires. The old toaster thing wasn't an option, I guess. So he was like, hey, going all in.
Dude, nuts.
Fucking crazy. And then uses a horse bridle to put in his mouth. So, hey, you're gonna die. What do you... Hey, I gotta save my tongue for the funeral. Fucking crazy. Fucking bizarre. They also use in this one, they use the TV as like a big theme in this.
Yeah.
Like the TV as like a people watch too much TV thing. And like they're like, Samara was locked up here by herself. And Noah, the husband's not by herself. And alluding that the TV was her.
The TV was with her. Yeah.
Fucking the cable guy subplot. Dude, Samara pops up at the end and is like, Lucy. Dude, the cable guy is so fucking good.
I completely agree.
I might fucking go watch it after we're done here. Dude, the end when Matthew Broderick's like, could you please tell me your name? It's the fucking final thing. And you're like, oh my God. And he's like, Ricky Ricardo.
He's so psychotic.
That's fucking crazy. The movie fucking rules. My parents took me to see that in theaters. That is fucking nuts. That movie is not for kids by any means.
He's
so
legitimately psychotic.
Yeah. Dude, the dream sequence where he's like trying to break down the doors, legitimately terrifying.
I agree.
Jack Black, early role.
The somebody to love karaoke sequence.
Where he gets fucking, he puts, what's his name? Matthew, what's
Broderick?
Broderick. When he gets Matthew Broderick to have a threesome. to break up his relationship with his girlfriend.
You know what? Let's wrap this up. I do want to watch
So anyway, so that's that. The guy's dead. TV's the theme here. They go back to the cabin because she had found a tree burned into a room in a wall. So they're like, I saw that tree at a cabin. They find the well in the basement and a TV. Naomi Watts ends up in the bottom of the well because I don't even know how to explain this. The TV turns on and starts spilling out water, and the nails start coming up, and then it rolls down some loose boards and hits Naomi Watts, throwing her into the fucking well.
The old
which is
slapstick routine.
Much deeper well than the Japanese one. Like the Japanese one's like, hey, here's this well. This makes sense. And in this one, it's just like this bottomless pit where no one will ever be heard from again. And so she falls in, and we get our backstory there, which is Anne, the mother, suffocated Samara and threw her down the well. And as the lid closes on the well with Naomi Watts in it, because Noah has gone to go get a fire hose, and presumably to float her up, I guess. We see the lid close, and then we get it, the ring. The ring is the light between the cracks of the well and the lid, which, again, yes, I'm cool with. That's kind of a cool concept.
Yeah.
So that's that. And she, too, finds the corpse. Samara is very young in the American one.
Yes.
Sadako is a teenager. Still sad, right, that they died, but
sure.
In this one, she's young. She's little.
You're right.
And it makes the end video, like a little weirder because she's 3 foot tall coming out of the well. And you're like, oh, it's a little weirder. Which is funny because when you see it parodied, they're really using the Japanese one.
Right.
It's always like an older girl. It's not this version of Samara, which is kind of interesting. And again, it does the same thing. The corpse rots in her arms and it's a skeleton. And then the 7 days in this one, they try to explain also, which is the amount of time you could live in a well, which is Naomi just pulls out of her memory. Because her and Noah are like, well, that's the saddest story ever. And Noah's like, I wonder how long you could live in a well. Which, by the way, I think she was suffocated when she was thrown down. I think she died instantly, but, and Naomi's like, he's like, how long would it take to how long would you survive in a well? And she's like, 7 days. Oh, why do you know that? Anyway, that's the end. The curse is lifted. Naomi Watts goes home. She tells Aiden the whole story, which is crazy to tell a kid this whole thing. But Aiden is like, well, what did you do? And he's like, we freed her. She's free. She won't hurt us anymore. And Aiden is like, what the fuck are you doing? Like, what the fuck? You free her. Which is my favorite part of the American concept. Because, yeah, she's a fucking demon for sure.
Yeah.
Like, she's a monster.
A huge mistake.
Huge mistake. And Aiden's like, what the fuck are you doing? Did you not see her? What are you letting that thing loose for? She's gonna kill us. Like, this is fucking crazy. Which also goes back to the doctor in the town who's like, hey, it's probably a good thing she's dead. It's a great thing that she's not here anymore. So it kind of goes full circle with this, where he's like, what are you doing? She's dead for, like, don't let that thing loose. Also, for sure, setting up sequels there. And then we get the same ending for the most part. Noah's at his house. TV comes on. Samara pops out. Tiny little Samara pops out. The one thing they do differently is Samara is kind of made of VHS tape because she like glitches and has like
she does, yeah,
static on her, which is kind of cool. I like that. Naomi runs home and she burns the tape, which after watching the Japanese one, you're like, oh fuck, that's probably not a good idea.
Right.
But then on her own realizes that there's another copy, and you're like, she does not have anything being like, it's a copy, this is what happened. But she does out loud be like, what did he do different? And then it's like, oh, copy. Which there's 0% chance anyone would ever think of that. Like, there's no fucking way you would deduce that. It's fucking crazy.
You mean in the Japanese one, you need a ghost to point to it.
to point to it. And she had a kid tell her, like, this is what you have to do.
Right.
And then it all clicks for her. And she's like, that's what it is. You have to pass a copy on. This one, Naomi Watts is just like, huh. The big red copy words. Telling me everything. And then, as we mentioned, we see her making a copy of the videos with Aiden, who says, what happens to the person we show this to? And then it ends.
Yep.
So that's The Ring, Japanese and American versions. Good movies all around. Good concept. Good story.
Enjoyed both of them. Yep.
Yeah, really good. So good job by them. Which
one would you prefer? Yeah.
Fuck. Personally, I like the Japanese one. Runtime alone is great. If I were to show it to somebody and be like, oh, you've never seen The Ring, I'd probably show them the American one, though.
Completely agree. I think I give the slight edge to Japanese, but the American one makes for a better watch party.
It's for sure more accessible. I don't want to say it's simplified. It's kind of not, but I don't know. It's an easier watch, I guess. To the Japanese one, you like really want to sit on it and just absorb it a little bit. It's like this true tale. You can kind of just watch the American one for the scares.
Agree.
So that's it. That's The Ring. Good start to Japanuary for sure.
Great. Yeah.
And makes sense because it really was the start of this whole Japanese thing
Remake.
that happened in America. Yeah. So next week we'll be doing the Grudge, and then Pulse after that. I had a listener. I forget her name. She messaged me right before the show started, and she mentioned something that we talked about, I guess, which was and she was like, it would make a good serial killer or just like a month of programming. And I think we should, maybe we do it for November next year, call it New Metal November, because apparently we called those like early 2000s movies. Like, I feel like, what movie did she say we were? Oh, House of Wax. House of Wax was what we were covering. Those like weird horror movies that they made that were scored with new metal soundtracks. And I guess we called them new metal horror movies. And then she was like, you have to do those. Like, those are like the epitome of like, those were the worst, but like the most memorable times. Yeah. And I was like, fuck. I was like, yeah, we probably should go back to doing some of those.
I'm all for it. All for it.
New metal horror. I was like, that's fucking good. That's fucking good. So we'll have to go back to that. But anyway, so that's it for this week. Thank you all for watching. Again, we now have the video version on Spotify, which people really like. People like watching video on Spotify, which is interesting. So that's you can watch us on Spotify now, and we're also on YouTube. Usually like the same day the episode launches. But if you want early access, you can go to patreon.com/IHateHorror. You get all the early access, the video version, and all of that. We also are doing bonus episodes. Now that the holidays are over, we're going to pick back up on that and do some more of those. And yeah, you get the live shows and stuff like that. Patreon's been fun. We've got some new stickers out there now, so sign up. Oh, and also rate, review, subscribe. And if you do, send an email to lexi@ihatehorror.com. We'll get some stickers out to you. So that's it for this episode. Thanks to Lexi, producer Lexi. You can find her over at Cult of Craven on Instagram. Find the show at I Hate Horror. We're also on Facebook.com/IHateHorror. And IHateHorror.com. You can pick up some merch there. So do that. Thanks to the producer Lexi. Thank you to Joe. And thanks to all of you for listening. Appreciate you all. It's been a great year. 10 years. It's been a great 10 years on the show. We got some big stuff coming in 2025. So stay tuned. That's it. So for Joe, this is Sean. Stay weird.
Thank you.
Adios.
Good and evil are just